They call it the phone call every driver dreams of. You've been racing since you were 7 years old, karting in the rain at circuits nobody's ever heard of. Formula 3, GP2, 3 years of finishing second, finishing third, finishing close enough that the right people started watching. And now one of them is on the line telling you Renault wants you for a full season seat in Formula One. You say yes before he finishes the sentence. What nobody tells you, what nobody can tell you, because you have to live it to understand it, is that some seats aren't opportunities. Some seats are traps. And by the time you figure out the difference, the door behind you is already closed. Your teammate is Fernando Alonso. Let that land for a moment. Two-time world champion, one of the fastest, most calculating drivers the sport has ever produced. You've watched him on television since you were a teenager, and now you share a garage with him, a team principal, and a set of expectations that nobody writes down but everyone understands perfectly. You are not here to win. You are here to support. Nobody says this directly. Nobody has to. You read it in the way the engineers cluster around his side of the garage. You read it in the debrief sessions where your data gets 20 minutes and his gets 2 hours. You read it in the eyes of Flavio Briatore, the team principal, the man who controls not just your race seat, but your management contract, your sponsorship deals, your entire professional existence. He has the kind of smile that never quite reaches his eyes. You learn quickly that when he's pleased with you, life is easy. When he isn't, the silence from the pit wall becomes a specific kind of cold. You are 23 years old and you are already in debt to a man you are afraid to disappoint. The first half of the season is fine, not good, fine. You're learning the car, learning the circuits at this level, learning that everything in F1 is faster, heavier, more demanding than anything you've experienced before. The braking zones arrive sooner. The corners carry more consequence. A mistake that cost you 2/10 in P2 costs you 5 here, and 5/10 in Formula One is the difference between points and irrelevance. You finish a few races in the points. Nothing spectacular. The car is difficult. Renault hasn't won a race in almost 2 years, and everyone inside the team knows it. There is a pressure in the building that has no name, but is present in every meeting, every simulation session, every strategy call. The team needs a result. The sponsors need a result. Briatore needs a result. You are beginning to understand that in this environment, a result can mean different things to different people. Singapore arrives. The first night race in Formula One history, Marina Bay Street Circuit. The city glitters beneath you during the reconnaissance lap. Towers of glass and light reflected on dark water. Everything impossibly beautiful in a way that feels almost wrong given what you're about to do. For the race, they call you into a private meeting. Not a strategy briefing, not a technical debrief. A private meeting, just you and two men whose names will eventually be in every newspaper in the world. They explain the plan. Alonso pits early, lap 12. You wait. And then on lap 14 at turn 17, you put the car into the wall. On purpose. They don't phrase it that way. They never phrase it that way. They talk about race situations in safety car windows and championship mathematics. They talk about it like it's a chess move. Elegant, logical, necessary. And underneath everything they're saying, completely unspoken, is the thing that doesn't need to be said at all. Your contract is up at the end of the year, and Briatore decides whether you stay. You are psychologically cornered. That is the phrase you will use years later. They put me against the wall and I had no escape. Lap 14, turn 17. You know exactly where to aim. You've driven past this barrier all weekend. You know the angle, you know the speed. You steer the car deliberately into the concrete and feel the impact travel up through the chassis and into your hands. And then everything is yellow flags and marshals and the safety car lights blinking on across the circuit. Alonso, who pitted 2 laps ago knowing this was coming, cycles through to the lead. He wins the race. You climb out of the wreckage and tell the cameras it was a simple mistake. The cameras believe you. The commentators believe you. Millions of people watching at home believe you. Only a handful of people on Earth know that what just happened wasn't an accident. That a Formula One driver at the pinnacle of the most precisely engineered sport in the world deliberately destroyed a $500,000 racing car on the orders of the men who sign his paychecks. You stand by the barrier in the Singapore night and you understand very clearly that you have just crossed a line you cannot uncross. The rest of the season passes in a specific kind of silence. Renault doesn't qualify the crash. Nobody inside the team discusses it. You go to the next race and the next, and you drive and you debrief and you eat in the motorhome and you smile at cameras and the whole machine just keeps turning. This is what you learn about complicity in systems like this one. It doesn't feel dramatic. It feels like Tuesday. It feels like going to work. What it also cost, and you won't fully understand this for a long time, is Felipe Massa's World Championship. The safety car that your crash deployed scrambled the pit stop sequence for the entire field. Massa, who was leading, lost his rhythm, lost track position, and ultimately lost the 2008 title to Lewis Hamilton by a single point. 1 point. The thinnest margin in the history of the sport. And somewhere buried inside that margin is a corner in Singapore and a decision you made under pressure in a room where no cameras were rolling. The following season, they drop you anyway. Of course they do. You scored no points in 10 races. Romain Grosjean replaces you. Briatore releases a statement. The team moves on. You are 24 years old, out of a Formula One seat, managed by the same man who just fired you, with no leverage and nowhere obvious to go. That is when you decide to talk. You go to the FIA. You give them a statement, then a second statement. And in that second statement, you say the words that will detonate inside the sport like something that had been building pressure for a very long time. I was asked by Flavio Briatore and Pat Simons to crash deliberately at the 2008 Singapore Grand Prix. The fallout is immediate and total. Renault attempts to sue you for blackmail. The same team that asked you to destroy a car for them at 200 kilometers per hour now calls you a liar in front of the world's media. The FIA investigates. The transcripts of your testimony leak to the press. The sport reads every word. Briatore is banned from Formula One for life. Simons for 5 years. Renault escapes with a suspended disqualification. And later, because this is Formula One where power protects power, both bans are overturned by a French court. You receive no ban, you receive no penalty. What you receive instead is the end of your Formula One career. Because in this sport, being the driver who told the truth about what happened in that room turns out to be a more disqualifying offense than being the team boss who put you in it. Years pass. You race in Formula E, you build a different kind of career. You carry what happened with you in the particular way that people carry things they can't fully put down. Not with drama, but with weight. The thing about being a young driver in the wrong team at the wrong moment is that the sport never gives you your career back. The version of you that signs that first contract, the one who said yes before the sentence was finished, he doesn't know yet what the seat is going to cost. He thinks it's the beginning of everything. And maybe that's the cruelest part. Not the crash, not the cover-up, not even the firing. It's that you were good enough to be there, good enough to share a garage with a 2-time world champion and keep up. Good enough that they needed you complicit rather than competitive. The sport didn't break you because you were weak. It broke you because you were useful.